Trinity Cultural Academy, Coimbatore, and NEPA's New India Publishing Agency, New Delhi, welcomes you all for this presentation on Principles of Seed Production Part 1, Tidbits 15, which comes under the major subject Plant Science and Seed Science and Technology. And this material is highly useful for preparation of ICAR All India Entrance Examination for admission, JRF and SRF, and ICAR NET National Eligibility Test, and ARS Agricultural Research Service, and STO Senior Technical Officer T6 grade, and IBPS AFO Agriculture Field Officer examinations. And this material is prepared by Dr. K. Vanangamudi. He is a formerly Dean Agriculture TNA Coimbatore and Dean Adiparashakti Agriculture College, Kalavai, and Professor and Head Seed Science and Technology, TNAU Coimbatore. Let us enter into the subject, the principles of seed production. And before that, at the end of this lesson, you shall be able to explain the agronomic principles that are contributing for quality seed production. And in that, we are going to see about the varietal seed production, how the varieties of seed production takes place, and the seed production of varieties and hybrids should be carried out carefully in the region where these are well adapted. And for example, seed production of cabbage is only possible in dry temperate areas because where the chilling requirements are met, and the climatic factors have a direct bearing on the quality seed production. So climate is the most important factor, and generally for seed production, dry and cool climate is most suitable, and different vegetables needs different climate for successful seed production and can be classified into temperate and tropical type. Climate may enhance bolting in case of bulb crop of onion, and photo period also affects bulb crop and seed production in onion. Like climatic factors, the production and post-harvest technologies also play a major role in quality seed production. Hence, proper strategies to be planned for quality seed production, especially horticulture crops, particularly vegetable seed production. Let us enter into the varietal seed production. The first important factor is that the selection of suitable agroclimatic region. Already we have seen that climate is the most important factor responsible for quality seed production, and crop variety should be grown in the adapted areas in terms of photo period and temperature, and the sensitive areas, the sensitive variety should be grown in the specific localities only, and the regions with moderate rainfall, humidity, temperature are most suited, and for effective pollination, moderate rainfall and wind is much suitable. In case of high rainfall, it leads to loss of pollen availability, and flowering should be coincide with the dry sunny period, so that the flowering takes place in an effective way. And the next important factor is the selection of season. So the select the season much suitable for seed production without isolation problem, and off season is much suited for raising seed crop because it avoids isolation problem, and the select the season having well distributed rainfall in the cropping period. Excessive rain leads to higher incidence of diseases, results in mold attack and seed discoloration. For example, bleached seed in peas. A question may ask like, bleached seeds in peas is due to dash because of excessive rain. Heavy rains and unusual rain may result in delayed maturity or damage to the seed crop, and precocious germination of seed. Precocious, which means that flowering or maturity takes place earlier than usual. So precocious germination means earlier germination of seeds. Heavy rains leads to earlier germination of seeds. And prevalence of cool and dry weather is preferable for seed production. Avoid high temperature and relative humidity areas where the germination is poor. Temperature plays a major role in seed production. Optimum temperature is required from the date of sowing to harvest. High temperature causes desiccation of pollen, resulting in poor seed set and quality. For example, lab due to contabescence of anthers and flower shedding in tomato and chilies. This is due to high temperature, and the temperature between 24 to 38 degrees Celsius is most favorable for all the crops. Flowering, pollination and seed setting needs low humidity and dry weather at maturity. High temperature and humidity encourages production of diseased seeds. Let us see few examples of diseased seeds due to high temperature and humidity. For example, the disease called blonded seeds in case of peas, and dimpled seeds in case of peas, French bean and cluster bean. Off colored seeds in case of pulses due to high temperature and high humidity. So, relative humidity is also a major factor for reduction of storage potential of stored seeds. And next one is wind. The season, in case of wind, season is very important for necessary for pollination in wind pollinated crops, and it improves seed setting in highly cross pollinated crops like maize, bajra, onion and crucifers. These are highly cross pollinated crops. And next one is land selection. The seed production land should be selected mainly for the following reasons, like basically the field should be, or the land should be free from volunteer plants, which means the previous season crop must be of not be the different variety of the same species. And it should be free from weeds, wild plants, objectionable weeds and other crop plants. These are the volunteer plants, and these are the volunteer plants is nothing but the previous season crop which is grown in the field, in the present field. And secondly, good fertile soil with neutral pH land should be selected, and the field should have a good drainage facilities and good water facilities. And in general, the land must be free from volunteer plants, weed plants and other crop plants that we have already seen. And in the preceding season, same crop should not be grown. So avoid areas where isolation is a problem, and avoid coastal belt and marshy places to avoid the relative humidity and temperature problems, and avoid areas of endemic diseases and pest areas. And compact areas should be selected for hybrid seed production, because in case of cross pollinated crops it will lead to a problem. And availability of skilled laborers, especially for hybrid seed production, because it needs uh, technical skills, and field near the processing operations with the transport facilities and marketing facilities are most suitable. And the next important factor is that isolation distance, and it is the distance maintained between the seed crop and the source of contaminant. It may be anything like other crop seeds or other varieties of the same crop likewise. And it depends on the pollination behavior, pollinating agent and pollen availability. Pollination behavior means the crop may be self-pollinated, cross-pollinated or often cross-pollinated. The pollinating agents may be wind, water, air, etc. And the pollen availability is that the duration of pollen availability. It may vary from crop to crop. First, we'll see the pollination behavior. The isolation, in case of self-pollinated crops, the isolation distance will be less, because it is a self-pollinated crops. We all know that what is self-pollination and cross-pollination. So the self-pollination crops requires less isolation distance. The self-pollinated crops like paddy, wheat, barley requires minimum of isolation distance, that is 3 meter. And in case of cross-pollinated crops like cole crops, crucifers, particularly crucifers, require highest isolation distance like 1600 meter. And the other highly cross-pollinated crops like maize, onion, bajra, etc. And often cross-pollinated crops requires medium isolation distance. For example, cotton, brinjal requires a 50 meter, 50 to 100 meter. It requires medium isolation distance. And the next one is pollinating agents. For example, wind. Example, wind for like pearl millet. Wind pollinating crop is pearl millet, and bees pollinating crop is sunflower. So pollinating agents also play a major role in isolation distance, and the pollen availability is, if the pollen is viable for a longer time, the distance will be high. If the pollen viability is low, the distance, if poor viability, it means that the viable is for short time, the distance will be low. For example, rice. And the next one is the types of isolation. There are three types of isolation, like time isolation, distance isolation, and barrier isolation. Let us see one by one how it takes place. In case of time isolation, adjusting the time of sowing of seed crop and contaminating crop in order to prevent synchronized flowering. So in the picture it shows that the field 1 and field 2, the field 1 are in a tillering or booting stage, but the field 2 is in harvesting stage. Why? It means that the field 1 is flowered 21 days later than the field 2, and the field 2 is flowered 21 days before the field 1. So it is in harvesting stage, it is in booting or tillering stage. So we can avoid pollination behavior. The next one is, in this picture it shows that the height crop like this one, these two rows planted first, and these rows of plants are planted 30 days or more later than this one. And the next one is isolation distance. Space maintained between seed crop and the source of contaminant in terms of distance. Here in terms of time the isolation distance is followed. Here in terms of distance isolation is followed. For example, in case of rice, 3 meter is the isolation distance. For self-pollinated crops we have already seen. In case of highly cross-pollinated crops, it will be high. For example, crucifers, it requires 1600 meter. And for cotton, it is often cross-pollinated crop, requires 50 meter or 100 meter. It may vary depending upon the classes of seeds like foundation seed and certified seed. And here the isolation distance we can see by in terms of distance. And the next one is barrier isolation. The barrier isolations deals with the topographic features like hills, woodlot, or vegetative barriers like maize, Hispania, sugarcane. These are height plants. It covers a distance over 30 meter, and artificial obstacles like plastic sheets about 2 meter height, and this is distance over nearly 1 feet to 2 feet. It is depending upon the crop we are going. And here the 3 meter strip of danger plant is grown, and here the polythene sheets covering 3 meter height. It acts as a barrier from field to field. And the next one is soil. The select well leveled field for uniform maturity, and select well drained field nearest to the irrigation sources, and select fertile plants and the fertile field. Fertile soils are generally preferred for seed production, and the soil pH should be neutral, that is 7, and the soil should not be in alkaline nature. because pH affects seed production in sensitive plants like legumes and vegetables. The problem soils like saline or acidic soil should be avoided for seed production. The seed production also be avoided in soil moisture stress or poor soil drainage conditions, and poor drained soils causes wilt disease in tomato and chili. So the field having fertility like adequate macro and micronutrients for vigorous and viable seeds. Let us see the deficiencies of nutrients causing which diseases in crops. So the nutrient like potassium causes blotching in case of tomato, and calcium, this point is very important in exam point of view, and we may be aware of this question that blossom end rot in tomato because of deficiency of calcium, and black rot, hollow heart, darkened plume or blackened plume due to boron in black rot in case of cabbage and cauliflower, hollow heart in garden pea, blackened plumule in groundnut. And the next important crop is crucifers. Molybdenum deficiency leads to whiptail in crucifers, and manganese deficiency leads to marshy spot in peas. And the next one is, let us see the nutrient deficiencies. And the excess nitrogen leads to more vegetative growth, which makes them prone to diseases and insects, and thus resulting in a reduction in seed quality and yield. NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium in balanced dose increases seed yield and improves seed quality and induce resistance in plants. And for example, the soil should be well drained, fertile and free from pathogens. For example, bacterial wilt inoculum, mostly available in soils, will infest solanaceous vegetables like tomato, brinjal and chili. And fusarium wilt in many vegetables spreads from seed to soil. It is spreading from seed to soil. Bacterial wilt is mostly available in soils. Wilt get established through the planting material and thus spreads further from the soil. So also the soil should be free from weed seeds also. Soil should have optimum moisture, good texture and structure. Different vegetables have different soil requirements, and in generally loamy soils are the best for seed production. And clay soils in high rainfall areas may be sick due to lack of aeration in soil, so which affects the seed quality. And the next important factor is that the selection of seed. Seed must be from an authenticated seed source, and appropriate class of seed must be used for further multiplication. For example, for production of foundation seed, breeder seed must be used. So and the proof of purchase is necessary to identify the source, along with the following details like details on the tag, that is the name of the agency which produces, and the purity, germination percentage and the validity period of the seed, and verify that all the bags are of same variety if packed in many bags. And for production of breeder seed, nuclear seed must be used. For production of foundation seed, breeder seed is used, and here nuclear seed. For production of certified seed, foundation seed must be used. For production of commercial variety, certified seed is used. These are the basic materials for seed production. Depending upon the what we are going to produce, we should select the class of seed. And the next one is sowing. The sowing depth. Always sow the seeds in equal distance, and the sowing depth should be 2.5 times the seed size. Seed size. Line sowing is advisable for seed crop. Correct seed rate to achieve required population by providing equal opportunity to each plant to develop mature, which is not possible in broadcasted crop. And the sowing of seed in rows helps in conducting effective plant protection measures, roguing operations and field inspections. During hybrid seed production, planting of two parents, namely male and female parent line in a definite proportion depending upon the crop. It may be 5:1 or 9:1. It may vary from crop to crop. In case of hybrid seed production, involves male sterile line. Both rows of male parent must be sown or transplanted. The seed crop should invariably be sown or transplanted at an optimum age of seedling at their normal planting time. Older seedlings tend to grow slowly, so susceptible to pests and diseases. So at the time of sowing or planting, there should be sufficient soil moisture for better germination and good establishment. Low seed rate than usual for raising commercial crop is desirable because it facilitates roguing operations and inspection of seed crop. And the next one is nursery management. Raised nursery at appropriate time in raised bed nursery and to protect the seedlings from damping off, and it maintain required population per unit area to avoid damping off and competition between the seedlings, and the transplanting the seedlings at 25 to 40 days after sowing depending upon the species. Nowadays pro trays are used for raising seedlings of high value low volume seeds like hybrid vegetables. And the next one is fertilizer management. Apply proper dose of fertilizer for a seed crop as basal and top dressing for its filling and maintaining the viability and vigor, which are the prime quality of the seeds. And split application is also followed, will help the seed plant to produce bolder, well matured and higher yielding seeds. Especially it is done in case of multi-picking species like tomato and cotton. Minor nutrients like molybdenum, iron, zinc, manganese and boron are applied for specific purposes as mentioned below. For example, lack of nitrogen delays field emergence. If it is applied more than the need, it leads to prolific growth of vegetative growth. And lack of phosphorus delays flowering. Potassium is responsible for filling and luster of the crops. Zinc is for fertilization. Selenium is for germination and onion. Copper deficiency leads to poor embryo growth. Manganese leads to marshy spot in species that we have already seen. Boron deficiency we have already seen, which leads to poor seed development and hollow heart in species. Black rot and cold crops, particularly crucifers and black cabbage and cauliflower, blackened plumule in case of groundnut. And iron deficiency leads to sterility of crops, and molybdenum leads to whiptail in crucifers and bleaching in peas. And the integrated nutrient management is adopted for sustainable soil fertility management. Here we have given the different sources of organic manures. First one is animal or agricultural waste, farmyard manure or compost or poultry dropping or vermicompost, which may be applied to the crop for growing crops, or the nutrient may be applied from industrial waste or sugarcane waste or pressed mud, etc., or it may be applied to the chemical fertilizers, or legumes in intercropping leads to nitrogen fixation in crops and the residues leads to nutrient to the soils. These are the sources of nutrients for the soil, and it may also be bacterial fertilizer or green manuring, azolla, blue green algae, etc. These nutrients may be reduced in soils due to leaching, volatilization, denitrification or runoff. These are the removal process of nutrients, and these for effective, in case of effective soil, it leads to sustainable grain production, and the crop straw or the residues, it may be given to the animals feed, like more straw is given to the feed for as a fodder for animal, and the animals will give us some milk and milk products and meat. And these two factors, like the animal products and the sustainable grain production, which leads to a healthy family for sustaining our life. So the different sources of compost or different sources of organic manures are poultry manure, piggery manure, urban or rural solid or liquid wastes, crop waste, waste from agro-based industries, farmyard manure from cow, or compost or vermicompost. These are the different sources of organic manures. And the next important factor is that irrigation. So immediately after sowing, irrigate the field if it is a direct sown crop. If it is transplanted, first irrigate the field and transplant the seedlings. After sowing, irrigate the field at third day as live irrigation. Thereafter, once in a week or 10 days interval, depending upon the water requirement of the crop. So optimum and timely irrigation is must. Over irrigation may promote vegetative growth, larging, nutrient imbalance, while under irrigation delays flowering, stunted growth, reduced filling, or immature drying. And the next one is irrigation or withholding irrigation. It is mostly used for achievement of synchronization in hybrid seed production. So, mostly irrigation is done in critical stages of growth crop like sowing, uh, live irrigation, flowering, fruit and pod formation, seed filling, and seed maturation. And next one is weeding. It is a very important practices. Herbicides may be applied as a pre-emergence or post-emergence, and also one weeding is given if weed infestation is noticed. Seed crop must be free from objectionable weeds and noxious weeds. The post-emergence herbicides like glyphosate, its trade name Roundup or Touchdown, and 2,4-D, Vidon or Salo, Paraquat, Gramaxan or Parazone. These are the post-emergence herbicide. And the pre-emergence herbicides like atrazine, butachlor and pendimethalin. And the next one is Folia Spray. Mostly to arrest or avoid the flower shedding, Folia Spray like NAA will be given to the seed field. For example, in case of tomato and chili, and two sprays of 40 ppm of NAA at flowering will arrest the flower drop. In case of cotton, spraying of 2% DAP or KCl at bolt formation stage improves seed quality. In case of pulses, 2% DAP leads to bolder seeds. So mostly it is given in Folia Spray. And next to important operation to be carried out for seed crop by the grower in order to maintain the purity of the seed. It may be physical contaminant or a genetic contaminant. Rogue is nothing but all type of unwanted plant in seed field other than the seed crops are termed as rogue. So the crops are removed. This process of removing the rogues are called as roguing. The physical contaminants may be weeds or noxious weeds, objectionable weed plants, volunteer plants, designated disease plants or other crop plants. Mostly roguing is done by the producer who is producing the seed for preparing the field for seed inspection by the seed certification officer. And the next important plant protection is look for the presence of designated diseases in a seed field. So remove the plants which are affected by diseases, and the periodical plant protection measures in consultation with the scientist will keep away the field from pests and diseases. So carefully select the pesticides and spray to the crops which are pollinated by insects. The next important is harvesting. Harvest the seed crop at physiological maturity based on some uh, visual indices like for example sunflower turning of yellow color of backside of thalamus is a physical maturity index in case of sunflower. So it may vary for crop to crop, and the method of harvest is vary from crop to crop. Once over harvest in case of rice and sorghum, multiplying in case of cotton, brinjal, chilies, etc. So from for 1 hour harvest, utilize the harvesters. In vegetables, the harvest to be taken in different pickings different pickings. For getting higher yield, the first and last are to be taken in different pickings. So getting higher yield, the first and last one vegetable. Sorry, next one we'll see. Um, From the harvested produce, seeds should be extracted following extraction methods like a wet extraction is followed for tomato, brinjal, bitter gourd or snake gourd. In case of dry extraction is followed for cereals, millets, pulses, bendi, chili, crucifers, ribbed gourd, peas, beans, etc. And the next one is drying and grading. Avoid the drying between 12 noon and 12 noon to 2 p.m. because direct exposure of seed to sunlight may affect its quality. So, therefore, if necessary, seeds may be dried under diffused sunlight in a shed with opening on all sides. And artificial drying is done by blowing dry air at 70 to 85 degree Fahrenheit but never exceeding 110 degree Fahrenheit or 40 degree Celsius. So grading is done with various types of grader. And the next important one is seed treatment. Seed treatment with fungicide and insecticide to arrest the carryover of pathogen and insects with the seed and their fresh entry into it. And the final one is packaging, labeling and sealing. It is necessary to use the right type of containers with labeling and sealing in the prescribed manner for maintaining seed moisture content at proper level. And the next one is movement and storage. Precautions should be taken to avoid the seed deterioration while in transit or in storage. Ideal condition for long-term storage is dry and cool condition, and the ideal condition can be maintained if the sum of relative humidity in percentage and the temperature in degree Fahrenheit does not exceed 100. Here should not come 100 degree Fahrenheit, does not exceed 100 only. Thank you friends, thank you for watching, and in the next video we'll see hybrid seed production and the genetic principles of seed production. Thank you for watching. Thank you.